Hello, I'm Rajesh. I'm a CEO coach, and when I look at the economic markers, they are very, very disturbing. The growth estimate in Dubai has been downgraded from 3.7% to 3.5%. Inflation is at an all-time high at 4.4%. Oil prices have tumbled. In the 31st of December, they were below $30. So when I look at the whole economic situation out there, we've got two direct impacts. Liquidity is drying up on the one hand, costs are escalating, everybody's worried. How are they going to make their targets happen? How are they going to stay afloat? How are they going to make profits? So the first port of call is always sales. And in this competitive market, how are we going to generate the sales that we need? I have with me Ramez Helou, who is the sales doctor. He's coached over 60,000 people across 5 continents and hundreds of companies on mastering sales. So Ramez, in this whole scenario, what is it that you see that companies are getting right and companies are not getting right in terms of how they're approaching sales? So are they looking at things that they need to be looking at, or they're trying to attempt to solve things which are not going to really produce the results? Yeah. So what is your take on that?
I mean, if you've eaten the wrong foods for quite a amount of times, you'll quickly realize your levels of cholesterols are not where they need to be.
Right.
And you then quickly will rush to the doctor and hoping the doctor can give you the magic pill that would lower your cholesterol. If he gives you the magic pill without changing your diet, what happens? Not much. You might get some initial reaction. However, the moment you stop the medicine, the moment you go back to your old habits. And that's exactly what I'm seeing happening. Many organizations, specifically within the oil and gas industries, I spoke at various conferences and events, and when the economy was doing well, little time did they spend on really building capability, doing what is right for the people. And I'll share with you some of the elements of what they need to do. And what's the scenarios now is, now that the market is retracting, there are less opportunities. Let's teach our people how to go and sell, how to go and grab more opportunities, and know how to be better than their competitors. Well, the answer, if you're training people how to really sell now, what were you doing when things were doing right?
Yeah.
So many times people are calling me to do trainings for their teams, but today training isn't going to work. It's not going to work. You gotta really dig back and really understand where is the cholesterol coming. What's causing that cholesterol to be able to overcome that problem once and for all.
So what I'm hearing, what you're saying is, that instead of being reactive in a situation like this, when the opportunity was missed, when the going was good, and you didn't build that muscle or that power to go out and sell, sending people for sales training and expecting them to go and perform miracles in this kind of a marketplace is just simply not going to cut it, not going to happen. So anyway, in this kind of a situation, then what is your recommendation? So what do companies, the CEOs, business owners need to focus on to build sales in this kind of a situation?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
to focus on. I mean, what most companies are gotta keep in mind is the concept of sustainable sales growth. And there's no magic pill. There is a formula. And a lot of time when organizations come to me wanting training, what we end up finding is they don't want the training. They want what the training will do for them.
Yes.
And they want to grow sales. And there are many elements that will actually drive growing sales. The thing is, if companies, world-class organizations, are the ones that invest even in a downturn. They spend time developing their people, but also they were the ones developing their people capability before the downturn came.
Right.
So now if the downturn is there, or things maybe aren't as great as you want them to be, well, what do? Well, you gotta either decide once and for all to build your business and put certain pillars that will enable you and your team to sell in any market. And some of the basic elements is what I call, understand, well, do you give your team the proper tools? I can't tell you the amount of time where people say, well, we only bring experienced people. Now they bring experienced people, you know why? Because they don't know how to train them. They don't know how to get the things right. You know, we want to bring people only from the industry. You know why they say that is because they have no way of building people up that is not from the industry. Now, yeah, it would take more time, but the other part of it is how do you ensure that people that have 5-10 years experience from the industry are the right people? What my experience shows is even if you have those types of individuals, they have maybe 5-10 years experience. But actually, it's maybe 1 or 2 years experience repeated over a period of 5 or 10 years. And now with the fast rate of change, whatever they know is actually not working. So people only find this out a year later when they say, well, this guy isn't really getting us the results, so sorry, let's change that. So let's look at what are the tools you're giving your people in terms of elements of product knowledge, industry knowledge, competitor knowledge. Today in the market, that product supremacy is no longer what's making it happen.
Right.
So heavy, so similar products are available in the market. So it's not what we're selling, but it's the perceived value that I be able to pass on to my customer. And are they able to understand that perceived value? And are they able to take that and justify why they are going to spend that money on that product or service or not? I'll tell you a story. In some occasions, I've had some of my clients come and tell me, I can't believe that I had the lowest price and my customer bought from my competitor and they're selling at 20% more than I don't get it. So price really isn't why does a company buy anymore. Yes, price is what they end up giving, but value is what they get. So today, if you find a way to demonstrate that value, and that doesn't happen in 1 or 2 conversations, you got to have the whole package. So I'll add one more thing. So trainings, you got to understand that the training alone isn't going to make it happen. You got to have what we call the sustainable approach, which is the one thing, the one element that companies ignore is that sales leader. Is that sales coach, because you can get the best training, but if you don't got someone who's going to reinforce it, who's going to be able to drive and coach and help individuals to get better at it, then definitely it's not sustainable.
So some of the distinctions that I just heard you make, number one is just sending people out to get sales training, which more or less boils down to some skills. That if you go out with a bag of new skills where you haven't put in any practice, you don't know how it all fits together, how it's integrated, into a package, into a whole toolkit, that's not going to give you the solution. So it's a totality approach. It's looking at, various aspects, product knowledge, how people are buying, the process, what are the pain points, and how do we approach all of that in a way in which when you're approaching this sales conversation, it's actually facilitating the buying process. And as you start facilitating that buying process, you're guiding them through the whole landmine of objections and basically creating the distinction between the cost versus investment. And that's when people are actually getting ready. So it's a totality. And then you need an anchor person who reinforces this whole approach in the sales team to make these things happen. So from everything that you're sharing, Ramez, what I'm hearing is that it's a totality approach that's going to make things work. Right. And there's never a good time to start. Maybe companies missed when the times were good to do this, but maybe now, when the times are low and bad and everything is so sort of tight, that if you start now, it's a question of it being a farming operation as opposed to hunting. So if you're approaching sales as a hunting operation, it's not going to work. As a farming operation, there are different components, different elements that you spoke about. So these elements, Ramez, how does one go about learning them? And then second, implementing them in the company in a way in which they actually take root and results start to come, maybe a little slowly, and then it starts to accelerate so that you start building a very robust sales engine.
Right. What you're talking about, Rajesh, is changing habits. Mm-hmm. And changing habits doesn't happen overnight.
Yes.
And it's not just the habits of the sales. You know, if I'm running an organization, I want results now. I want results yesterday. If I'm in the financial department, I'm looking at my P&L. I'm saying, get me more sales.
Yeah.
But the process by which you go about getting the sales is not an overnight thing. It's depending on how complex is what you're selling.
Yeah.
So there is a certain level of expertise. We got to understand. You said something that I will spend a bit more time there, which is you got to know your customer's business better than they know their own business.
Mm-hmm.
That's today, if you don't do that and your competitors do, just think about the impact this would have in your everyday conversation with your clients.
Right.
You come to talk about a product, they're coming to uncover where you have certain areas of gaps, where you have certain needs. They understand your process sometimes better than you understand your own process, and you can add value. Now the buyer, or now the marketing team, or now the IT team, whoever functions you're calling on, start seeing you as, one second, this is a resource. So really you are becoming that external resource or external consultant or asset part of the whole process.
Right.
So sometimes you being better at knowing the business. So how do you make it happen? It's a culture change.
Okay.
So culture change happens with repetition, with impressions, happens with recognition and reward. You got to have a whole system. A whole system that encourages people to make the change, and not necessarily to simply go and get the targets. You can't. I mean, I can go get targets for you by giving discounts. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
I don't think so. So if you really want a radical change, if you really want to create a business that will be here to stay for years to come, that will be the talk of town, well, do nothing, see what will happen. Mm-hmm. If you stay the way you are, see what will happen. Yeah. If your competitors go ahead and start implementing this approach and you're not, how much more difficult it will be to catch up. Okay. So it's a farming process, Rajesh. There are different elements between, you got to make sure that you got the proper knowledge, industry knowledge, backgrounds, sales tools, different, from selling skills. You got to teach someone how to prospect. And today it's difficult because it's no longer cold calling is no longer working. You got to find a way to build relationships. You got to find a way to get introductions to the right level within an organization. You got to find ways to engage with people on social media to generate interest, generate leads that are, you're not going to, you're not a hunter, you're a farmer. You got to understand these changes in the economy and the fact that your competitors are already adding value to your customers and you're not. So when do you know when to take advantage? When do you know when to, let's say, reap the seeds that you have planted? So it's really, you got to have that whole mindset shift between training multiple skills and then really it's that sales coach, sales leader, and the sustainability. So in many occasions it's having internal, let's say the word consultants, trainer, facilitators to even keep reinforcing that together with your sales team. And that's basically what we do at the Academy. This is part of something we call the sales engine. It's something that we've done several times with bits and pieces here with clients. And let me tell you, when a client decides to put the whole thing together, it really gives them the magic formula to just skyrocket and be different and add value in in that entire process and win and achieve what they want to achieve.
This is what I find distinctive about Ramez and his approach, that through all his experience, he has tried and tested so many different ways to help individuals and companies to sell. And as he's been looking at what really produces value, what is sustainable, what stays through the ups and downs of the economic landscape, more and more, Ramez is moving away and getting his people to move away from the small, easy, quick fix and looking at it from a system point of view, a process point of view. In a very senior way of looking at it is an engine. So it's about developing a whole sales engine. The distinction between an engine and a process is that a process is something that you can write up, put into a book, and it can go into what I like to call your morgue, where you got this exalted process, thought everything through, but nothing's happening after that. Whereas the sales engine is to take that process and put it into dynamic motion. And in that dynamic motion, there are so many things, so many elements that need to be put together. And when you have somebody who can guide and oversee that whole process, look at the necessary and sufficient conditions that need to come into existence, the sales coach, the champion, the different tools, the different techniques, the different processes, how reporting is happening, how targets are being met, and so on and so forth, that slowly the sales engine comes into existence, and that sales engine is the actual lifeblood of any business, whether the economy is doing well or it's not doing well. And when the economy is doing well, there's stiff competition. When the economy is not doing well, the competition even gets stiffer. So any which way you look at it, the sales engine approach allows those companies that see the wisdom in it to really focus on putting the components together in an elegant way, in a way in which things start to work in a systematic, step-by-step process. And at the end of the day, business or sales is not rocket science. It's not complicated, but you got to do the simple. You got to put the things in place in the correct recipe and make sure that you're tending, watching, inspecting the elements that you need to inspect in. So Ramez, real quick to wrap this up, can you tell us a little bit more about your sales engine process and how that works, and the components of it? So whatever can kind of, and is there any way in which people can find out more about this?
Absolutely. I've shared some elements. I'll tell you, the biggest thing is many times companies self-diagnose.
Right.
And their diagnosis, okay, we need this training.
Right.
And they will compare what we do with many other organizations, and again, a hit and run isn't going to work.
Right.
So the most important thing is to do what we call an as-is analysis. That's the first step in our sales engine, because it's the engine is running today.
Yeah.
It just needs tuning.
Yeah. Yes.
It just needs tuning.
Yes.
And the elements, some of them might be there, so it will change from organization to organization.
Yes.
But the way we go about diagnosing, the way we go about inspecting, so we can then work on the elements that need to be worked on. So whether it's whether it's the induction plan, whether it's the compensation plan, whether it's the even operation process, if that is not perfectly assessed or aligned, we would look at measuring and tracking performance. What are the metrics that the team is currently working with? What seems to be their what we call their activity, measuring their activities to then what are the level of skill and knowledge in these various areas: prospecting, presenting, following up, generating of referrals and leads and stuff like that. And then we would look at the skill of the sales leader and how do they keep the whole thing alive. So those are the various elements. And the best thing is, Rajesh, is people are invited to look up what we call the future of business-to-business selling and account management. I run several events, so look up our website, identify if there is something coming close to you, so you can participate. Come, have a quick inspection. We can call that an inspection. See what's working and what is it that might need some oiling or changing or upgrading with your current system, and then you decide on whether or not you want to do the uphaul or do the tune-up of your current engine.
Right.
So I would definitely invite organizations and people, leaders, company owners to attend our upcoming events to learn about what are the areas that they might need to consider.
So this is the last thought I want to leave you with. Now, if you have a car, for example, a Toyota or Mercedes, doesn't matter which one, and if you take that car to a garage and this guy promises to fix everything for you, probably he can fix it, and probably the reason why you're attracted to go there is because it's cheaper, it's ready access, there's not too much of you don't have to book an appointment and so on and so forth. But if you go to the company shop, for example, Toyota has its own service center. They have the whole diagnostics that they start with, and then from there they start putting together what are the things that have failed, what are likely to fail. Then they drop the whole plan and make sure that your vehicle is absolutely roadworthy and is going to take you where you want to go without any kind of mishaps on the way. So working with Ramez, is like working with a master mechanic. And the master mechanic always starts with what is present in the present. A master mechanic is not interested in theory. A master mechanic is not interested in giving you the 7 bullet points of how to do this, that, or the other. A master mechanic says, hang on a second, let me open the hood, let me check what is working, what's not working, let me take stock, let me drop the whole thing, and then tell you, look, these are the strong points, these are the points we need to fix. And when we start putting all of these things together, the engine will become robust, tuned, and ready to take you where you want to go. Ramez Helou is the sales doctor. He's known as the sales doctor. I like to think of him as a master mechanic.